Hi, my name is Lillian, and I've never believed in love at first sight. My life had been planned out for me ever since I was a kid. My parents decided everything for me, where I would study, what I should wear, and even who I'd be friends with. My family owned a chain of beauty salons, so I knew early on what I'd be doing after uni. My wedding to Adam had also been planned by them. Our parents had been friends for a long time and dreamed of being joined by marriage. Adam was handsome and funny. However, he didn't like to study, skipped lectures, and lived off his parents' money. My parents were paying for my tuition as well, but I was at least putting in effort. It probably seems weird to you that I never wanted to rebel against my parents, but I was fine with everything until I wasn't. One day, Adam invited me to a restaurant. The food looked lovely, and I liked listening to the live music there. The atmosphere was very romantic, but for some reason, I felt uncomfortable. I looked at Adam and I realized that I only saw him as a friend. Listen, don't you feel like we're living someone else's life? We're only dating because that's what our parents decided we should do.
Actually, I'm dating you because I like you. Don't you feel the same way?
At first, Adam was surprised, and then he started yelling at me just because I'd shared my opinion. I felt hurt, so I quickly got up and left the restaurant. Instead of getting a taxi, I decided to walk around the city at night. I didn't even think about where I was going. Soon, I turned into an alley and I heard loud music coming from a bar. I didn't really like clubbing, but at that moment, I wanted to let off steam and do something rebellious. Adam caught up to me at the door and grabbed me by the arm. He must have been following me this whole time.
What are you doing? You seriously want to go into this dump?
I pulled my arm away and I went inside. Adam didn't follow me. There was a huge crowd inside the bar. Music was blaring and everyone was dancing. I wasn't used to a place like this, but I still liked it. I sat down at a free table. At least I thought it was free. However, a couple came up to it and an annoyed girl said that they'd already been sitting there.
Come on, Shayna. There'll still be enough space if this beautiful stranger joins us.
The guy's face seemed familiar to me. Where could I have seen him before? Oh, but of course! We went to the same university! However, we rarely crossed paths, and we had never talked to each other. They sat down next to me, and we got to know each other. Jay and Shayna were friends and rented a room nearby. Jay had a state-funded scholarship. He studied during the day, worked part-time in the bar in the evenings, and worked on his own project in his spare time. Unlike Adam, he counted only on himself, and I immediately felt my respect for him grow. The three of us danced and had fun. I gave it my all on the dance floor, and I felt happy and free. I didn't want it to end. When I got ready to go home, Jay volunteered to walk me there. We laughed a lot on the way. Talking to Jay was really easy. As I was lying in bed, I kept replaying our meeting in my head, and I suddenly realized that I had fallen in love. Yeah, I had fallen in love with a guy I had just met. In the morning, Adam came to me with an armful of flowers. He apologized for being rude and leaving me alone the day before. I said he was forgiven, even though I didn't really care at all. He gave me a ride to the university and was about to leave. Are you skipping again?
Baby, I already have everything. Why waste time on tedious classes?
After the first lecture, I went out into the courtyard and I ran into Jay. He seemed happy to see me, and we spent the whole break chatting. I told him all about my doubts, surprising even myself. I was confused and I needed advice. Was I doing what I wanted, or was I just trying to please my parents?
You know, our lives are a bit similar. My parents tried to control me too. So one day, I just left them and started living the way I wanted to. I'm not saying you should leave your family, but try to listen to your inner voice a little more.
And from that day on, Jay and I started spending a lot of time together. One day, I accidentally saw him arguing with some people. They were wearing black suits and sunglasses. Jay was trying to prove something to them and shouting. But when he noticed me, he stopped at once. After those strange guys left, I asked him who they were. Jay didn't answer and immediately changed the subject. I didn't ask any more questions, and I quickly forgot about it. I noticed that our usual walks were gradually starting to look like dates. One day, we went to an amusement park, and there, Jay kissed me. That evening, I met Adam, and I told him that we needed to break up. He was furious.
I know it's all because of that beggar. I've seen you two spending all that time together. You're going to regret it, Lillian, but it'll be too late when you come crawling back to me.
I felt awful after that talk. I decided I would tell my parents about everything and hope they would support me. But that wasn't what happened at all. When Dad heard about me liking Jay and dumping Adam, he got really angry. He yelled at me and called me ungrateful and selfish. Mom took his side. I was very hurt, and I wanted to cry. Why were they acting like this? Was I not able to choose who I wanted to be with? A little later, Dad confessed something to me. It turned out that his business wasn't doing very well, and we were on the edge of bankruptcy. My parents had even had to sell the beauty salons, but they still didn't have enough money. They hoped that after Adam and I got married, his parents would help us.
If you don't make up with Adam and marry him, I don't want to see you again.
I spent the evening crying in my room. Then my mother came and asked me to think everything through one more time.
Honey, we wish you nothing but the best. Love dies sooner or later. And what'll you be left with then? That Jay of yours doesn't have any money.
The next day, I told Jay everything. He promised he would think of something, and to distract me, he suggested that we go to an aquarium. First, we looked at different fish, and then Jay gave me a certificate for diving as a gift. He spent almost all the money he'd earned at the bar on it. While swimming amongst the fish, I felt like a real mermaid. It was magical. But then, something happened that ruined everything. We were leaving the aquarium and eating ice cream when two men I'd seen before suddenly approached us. They grabbed us and pushed us into different cars. I immediately wanted to leave, but the door was locked. What do you want? Who are you? The man was silent, but I kept screaming and demanding he let me go. So he eventually spoke.
Please, stay calm. You're not in any danger, and we will let you go soon.
Was it just me, or did he sound a little strange? Like he had an accent. I suddenly realized something. These people must have been sent by my parents. Although, the first time I'd seen them had been before I told my parents about Jay. Soon, they finally let us go. Just dropped us off in the city center. When we could no longer see the cars, I demanded an explanation.
Don't worry, your parents have nothing to do with it.
I couldn't get anything else out of him. Jay fell silent, and I decided that he probably just didn't want me to get involved in his problems. The next day, Shayna was waiting for me near the university. She roughly pulled me aside and demanded that I stay away from Jay. Could you imagine? Were they kidding me? It was then that I realized Shayna probably didn't just see Jay as a friend. They were in love with them too. But I'd had enough of my own problems at the moment. I wasn't about to solve someone else's. Our relationship is none of your business.
You're just gonna dump him anyway. I just don't want him to suffer like that.
I kept thinking about our conversation during the day, and as a result, I couldn't focus on my studies. During the last lecture, a note suddenly fell onto my desk. It said that after classes, Jay would be waiting for me in the lecture hall, number 15. So, of course, after the lecture, I immediately went there. However, when I opened the door, I saw Adam instead of Jay. He took my hands into his, and he said he wanted us to make up.
Lillian, let's forget about everything and start over. Please, give me another chance.
Listen, I really don't have any issues with you, but I love Jay, and he didn't even let me finish, and suddenly kissed me. I was so confused that I didn't even push him away at first. I noticed Jay standing in the doorway, but it was too late. Shayna was peeking out from behind him, looking pleased with herself. They had set it up. Shayna and Adam had planned this and called Jay there. I tried to explain, but Jay left without hearing me out. He didn't answer the phone or come to the university the next day. I hoped he would show up soon, but time passed and he still wasn't there. He was nowhere to be found. I began to suspect that his disappearance could have something to do with those strange men. What if they had done something to him? I tried to contact the police, but no one there would listen to me. I didn't leave my room for days. I skipped even more lectures than Adam. My parents even called a doctor, but he said that I was just overworked and stressed, so they told me to rest and prescribed me some vitamins. One day, my parents came to me and said they weren't angry anymore. They'd accepted my decision and promised not to make me marry Adam anymore. I was so surprised. I hadn't expected that from either of them, but especially not my dad.
We've been invited to an important event in London. The local aristocracy and influential people from other countries will be there. If we're lucky, we'll find new partners. Lillian, you should come with us. You've spent way too long cooped up in your room.
But I didn't want to go to England. More precisely, I didn't care whether I went or not. But in the end, I agreed. The next day, my mom took me shopping. We tried on a lot of dresses and jewelry. My mom spent a lot of time choosing an outfit for me. That probably should have been a red flag for me, but I hadn't really been suspecting anything. In England, we stayed in a beautiful 3-story house. Dad said that the organizers of the event had rented it for us. I had several rooms, all to myself, a bathroom, even a dressing room. It seemed like these aristocrats really were rich. In the afternoon, Mom called makeup artists and hairdressers, and they came to our rooms. They did our makeup and hair. Mom made sure that I looked perfect. She even yelled at the makeup artist and made him redo everything several times. A car was sent for us in the evening. Strangely enough, the driver's face seemed familiar to me. I kept trying to remember where I could have seen him. As we drove up to a posh mansion, I suddenly realized that the driver reminded me of one of the men who'd been following Jay around. Except now he wasn't wearing glasses. Wait, no, that made no sense. Of course, it couldn't be him. Why would he be here in London? There were a lot of guests at the event. We were immediately introduced to everyone, and I barely had time to memorize any names. But soon, I found out something interesting. It turned out that the event had been arranged in honor of James, a rich heir who'd come back home after being away for a long time. Mom took me aside and started whispering,
"Get to know him. He is the most eligible bachelor here. So if he likes you..."
I stopped listening after that. Now I knew why my parents had brought me with them, and why my mother wanted me to look perfect. Things hadn't worked out with Adam, and so they decided they'd marry me off to someone else. I was tired of it all. My mood was ruined, and I decided I'd leave. My parents tried to stop me, but I wasn't paying attention to them anymore. I'd almost reached the door when they announced that James had come out to the guests. I turned around and froze when I saw him. It wasn't possible, but Jay was walking right towards me, smiling at the guests along the way. Was he the rich heir? After the first shock had passed, I felt happy. But when Jay stopped in front of me, my joy turned to anger. "You've been lying to me this whole time, and I was worried like an idiot that something had happened to you. I even went to the police." I felt so hurt that tears came to my eyes. I ran out into the garden and sat down on the side of the fountain. Jay ran after me and carefully sat down next to me.
"Lillian, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't tell you everything. Back then, at uni, I realized that you'd been framed. You were arguing with your parents because of me, and there was only one way to fix that. I went back to my family. Now I have status and wealth again. That's why your parents won't mind if we're together anymore."
I had no words to describe what I was feeling. I couldn't believe it was actually happening. So, who were those people in black?
They're my family's security guards. My parents sent them to convince me to come back.
So I wasn't crazy. I knew I'd seen that driver before. Jay and I kissed, and I was over the moon. You should have seen my parents' faces when they found out the truth about Jay. Of course, now, they had nothing against our relationship. Jay proposed to me, and we decided to get married. But only after graduating from university. We told our parents that we would achieve everything ourselves, without their money. And Shayna apologized for conspiring with Adam. She was really sorry for what she'd done, and wished Jay and I happiness. Adam, however, was kicked out of university for skipping lectures all the time, and even his parents' money couldn't save him. I'd never believed in love at first sight, at least until it happened to me. Do you believe that love at first sight exists? Write it down in the comments below.